Hi everyone, Alexandra Jowett, Jupiter Returns here with your weekly astrology forecast for the week of the 22nd to the 29th of November 2020. This is a beautiful, blissful, exciting, dreamy week, which is a really nice opportunity for me to explain some of the more desirable influences. It's been a rough old year, lots of challenging astrology going on. So it's a pleasure for me to be able to sort of bring to us something a little bit more pleasing. We're now in Sagittarius season. The sun has ingressed the sign of Sagittarius. Welcome to Sagittarius season and happy birthday to all the Sagittarians out there. Sagittarius marks the final month of autumn. So it's being the final month of a season makes it a mutable sign. It makes it all about change. And the kind of change that we have with Sagittarius, if we notice the arrow of Sagittarius, it's pointing upwards and outwards. It's really all about the future. What do we need to change in order to move more in alignment with a more hopeful, a more optimistic, a more abundant future? So that's really the kind of the energy, the core focus that we're all going to be feeling. It's a fire sign, so it's a little bit more upbeat than Scorpio season. Scorpio season is water, so it's a little bit more emotional. So with the fiery, optimistic, happy, buoyant energy of Sagittarius, we're all getting a bit of a lift after a little while in the doldrums, perhaps. So that's good news to start off with. And we've got obviously 30 days roughly of that Sagittarian influence. The other influences that we've got around today, particularly as we start the week, we're moving into a highly Neptunian week. So what we have going on is we've got Neptune really slowing down, ready to turn direct later on in the week. And so as I've mentioned many times, when any planet is stationing either to go direct or to go retrograde, we absorb a much greater influence from that planet. The waves of vibration that are coming from that planet find us that much more easily. They're that much more profound in our experience. So we're all going to be kind of under the influence of Neptune a little bit more this week as Neptune's really slowing down. Neptune has been retrograde since June. So it's a very slow moving planet. It's one of the outer planets, and as such, it's working on quite a deep level within us. These planets that are sort of beyond, you know, what the eye can see in the sky. You'd need a telescope to be able to see Neptune, and that's working on us at a deeper and more hidden level. But if you're experiencing a particularly profound Neptune transit, for example, if Neptune is transiting a personal planet in your chart at the moment, your sun, moon, perhaps your Venus, or particularly if it's crossing an angle in your chart, the ascendant, your rising sign, or your descendant, and your IC and MC, that's where you're likely to see the kinds of change that Neptune brings. Neptune is a planet of change. And it's we could call it a sea change, because Neptune is the ruler of the oceans. It's a very profound change. But whereas some of the other planets of change, for example, Uranus, can bring change in a very shocking, sudden kind of way, with Neptune, it can be a little slower, a little bit more gentle, a little bit more drip, drip, drip effect, but you'll certainly really experience it in a very profound way nonetheless. So over the course of 2020, where has Neptune been transiting in your chart? If it's been over a personal planet or angle, you will have really, really felt the changes it's been trying to bring to you. And I will, you know, expand upon that as we move through the energy of the week. The Degrees that are involved here then are 18 degrees to 21 degrees of Pisces. So that's where you're going to feel it most in your chart. Also, it's going to be provoking challenge, let's say, in all of the other mutable signs. The mutable signs being Pisces, Gemini, Virgo, and Sagittarius. So any of the placements that you have in those 4 signs in your chart between 18 and 21 degrees, they are going to have been really feeling the changes that Neptune's been trying to bring. And we're all going to be feeling a lot more of this energy, specifically this week, but over the coming weeks as well, because what's happening is Neptune is moving into a square aspect, essentially a T-square, with the lunar nodes. So the lunar nodes are these points in the sky. They're not, it's not a planet, it's not a physical body, it's a point in the sky that create these places of karma, destiny, those real fated events that show up. When the lunar nodes are activated, we're really moving in alignment with destiny and what the universe, what's the bigger thing that's orchestrating, you know, the divine energy that's orchestrating all of this stuff that's happening here on planet Earth and in our day-to-day mundane lives. And of course, these are involved in the eclipses, which is why now the sun has moved into the sign of Sagittarius. We have the South Node in Sagittarius, so we're entering into eclipse season once more. And 1 week from now, on November the 30th, we will have the first of those eclipses. So this week, we are being drawn into that eclipse, and it's a full moon eclipse next Monday, which means things are coming to a fruition. Things are coming to a culmination point, and it's a very profound and very fated feeling culmination point when we have this kind of eclipse going on. With Neptune in a challenge aspect like this, it's really tapping us into, you know, what is the dream? You know, what's this bigger idea of life? What's it all about? Neptune really does put you in touch with those bigger questions. What is the meaning of life? What's this all about? What are you here for? You know, is it just the kind of the day-to-day stuff, or is there more? Neptune wants to search for more meaning. It wants to know that there's some point to all of this. And it wants to fill the spiritual void that is, as far as I can see in terms of my life and the work with the clients that I do, it's quite a gaping hole at this point in time. You know, there's not much space for the spiritual life, which is all about, you know, which is what Neptune is all about, tapping us into the heavens, tapping us into whatever is God or source or creator energy for you. It's our imagination, it's the dream world. And when we're thinking of Neptune, essentially what Neptune energy is, it's the purest version of Venus energy. It's like Venus on steroids. And what I mean by that is, this is where love and beauty move into their highest expression. So with Neptune, we shed the ego. This is where we become a more spiritual being, where we step into the higher self through Pisces. The last sign of the zodiac is the highest sign in terms of being connected to the heavenly realm. And so it's that higher expression of love. It's unconditional love. It's complete compassion. It's being able to see that all of humanity is deserving of forgiveness, is deserving of pleasure, is deserving of whatever it needs in order to heal. It understands that fundamentally we are all one. And as we lift ourselves, we lift others, and vice versa. When we lift others, we lift ourselves. So we're invested in each other. You know, Venus talks about value, and often this will be literally financial. money. Venus rules money. But this is a different kind of currency. This is the currency of the collective vibration that says, you know, it's in my interest. It's a wise investment when I invest in loving and forgiving and helping, showing compassion to others. It helps me too, because we're all connected. So the competitiveness of Aries, that first sign, the most egoic sign of the zodiac, you know, we've gone all the way around, and Neptune Pisces is the furthest away from that. So it's not in competition with anyone. It's not saying I can advance if other people are pushed behind me. With Pisces, it's saying, actually, we all win when we each win. And so we're getting a dose of that beautiful higher vibration of Venusian image energy this week. And with that, all of the creativity and imagination and dreamy energy, because this is saying to us, what's your dream? Okay, what is the point of this life that you're on? Are you just existing? And I'll talk a little bit about that, more about that as we go through. So this has been a year, and obviously with these square aspects, there are challenging aspects. And with this year, it may be that we've found, and particularly if we're having, you know, Neptune show up quite profoundly in our chart right now, it may well be that this has been a year where we've seen the dream that we once had for our lives as needing to disappear now. It's being dissolved away, because in a hard aspect, Neptune being the way we perceive things, the way we view the world, it rules the lens. So it rules photography and film and Hollywood and glamour and all of these kinds of things. But it's really looking at what is our perception of things. And the world really is, we see in the world what it is we're expecting to see because of our perception. And it may well be that the dream of our lives that we had when we were younger has had to change this year for some reason, or as we've grown into a Neptune transit that's happening with age. And it's really saying, you know, that's not how it needs to be anymore. We're being disillusioned in that respect. We're being, our view of things is changing, and it's saying, actually, I set out with this dream that I would be happy, I would feel fulfilled, my life would have greater meaning if I got X, Y, and Z in place in my life. And you may have got to a point in your life now where you've achieved those things and realized, actually, that isn't the way to get that sense of fulfillment or meaning in your life. And there can be a disappointment with that. You know, hard aspects to Neptune can often indicate deception, where we've been deceived, where we've been sold a bit of a lie, where we've been fooled in some way, or where we've fooled ourselves in some way. Where we've deceived or, you know, fooled ourselves. And so we have to get to a point where we're like, okay, this isn't my dream anymore, because this has turned out not to be what I expected to see or to feel in my life. It's all about the feeling world, really. So we're having to come up with a new dream. You know, the world has changed. Outwardly, certainly the macrocosm, and it may well be that the microcosm for you also personally is going through this profound change as well. So it's asking the big questions, and these coming eclipses are really going to tap all of humanity into that. What's the dream? What are we now going to be focused on? Are we just a passenger in life, or are we going to dream a new way of being for ourselves and step into that reality as we move forward with greater information, with greater insight, because that's what the Neptune retrograde is all about. It's saying, okay, let me draw within, as any retrograde does, and just, you know, work through what's been going on with this part of my world. And that's insight. So now you've had this period since June of gaining this greater insight into meaning and purpose and fulfillment and spirituality and imagination and all of these things. It's like, okay, what am I doing with that now? How do I make that inner world come out into the outer world? How do I make something of that? How do I bring the dream into reality? And that's the opportunities that we have this week. And that's why I'm so excited to share it with you all. So that's kind of the backdrop of the week. So where we find ourselves on Monday then, we've got the moon. Monday's ruled by the moon, Moon Day. We've got the moon in Pisces, so really tuning us into this energy. And today she's actually going to meet up with Neptune. So very much, this isn't an energy of wanting to get a lot done, because Neptune energy, when it's this strong, can make us feel sleepy. It can make us want to check out of reality a little bit more, meditate, have a drink, do some drugs, whatever it is, or just get into our creative flow a bit more and be in the flow state. And so that's not always conducive to doing focused, detailed work, but it is a very productive energy if what you're doing is working on that inner world, working on your imagination, or in any way using your creativity. Okay, and that will continue throughout the week. So yeah, we have the moon tuning us into the nodes. So we're really getting this first dose of what is this eclipse season going to be all about for us? Where are the big fated changes showing up in our lives? As we move into Tuesday, Mercury is now out of shadow. So that Mercury retrograde transit is now completely over. You'll be pleased to know. And so Mercury is now moving direct. He's, he's bringing greater clarity. And in Scorpio, this favors, real deep work. It is fantastic if you have any studying to do, or any psychology, anything that's really about depth. Any kind of research work, it's forensic detail. It's really getting into the hidden realm. And on Tuesday, we have this really helpful aspect, excuse me, it's not a sextile, it's a trine, a trine aspect. So this super easy connection of energies between Mercury in Scorpio and Neptune stationing in Pisces. The moon has moved on just a little way from that point. So this is really, really allowing us to ask those big questions of ourselves and easily get the answers. This is the most harmonious flow of energy. Mercury wants the detail. So when Neptune wants this wonderful flowing, bigger kind of dream, Mercury is saying, okay, what's the detail in that? Let's flesh it out a bit. What are the colors? What are the sounds? What does it all really, really look like? And don't forget, we're in the part of the moon phase where she's waxing now. She's growing. So this is the phase of the moon where we can manifest. We can call something to us. We can bring it into being. And so here's our perfect opportunity to bring the dream to life, to get in alignment, really bring it vividly into detailed focus, what it is that we want. And that may have come from a greater understanding of what we don't want, or how we perhaps have been led astray by the way that we've viewed things, or viewed other people, or viewed ourselves in the past. So look back on this period of time and go, okay, where is it that I feel disappointed or confused about things, where things, I was so sure of something, and then that confidence really got blurred and really got shaken up. With Neptune energy, we are, my things come off. We're talking about the sea, we're talking about the ocean. When you're going through a profound Neptune transit like this, it can feel like when you come off a surfboard, or you're just caught in a really big wave in the sea, and you're, 1 minute you're standing firm and solid and grounded and you know where you are, and the next minute a wave comes and tumbles you over, and you don't know which way is up for a minute there. You're thrown all over the place, and you're confused, and everything's like washed away, any sense of stability or direction or clarity. And that's quite unnerving, and it's a slow, long process that happens. So this can be for a period of many months where you go through this feeling of, I don't know which way is forward. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know who my, what my relationship needs to be anymore, or my job, or my home, or, all of these things, wherever it's showing up in your chart. It's just this, like, everything's going through the washing machine. So this is that point where it's like, okay, you've learned a lot through going through that process. You've learned a lot about what you don't want. You've learned that being in this particular place in life, being in this job, or in this relationship, or in this expression of yourself, this idea is not really doing it for you. It's not going to bring you what you want, and it's time for a change. So we can call in what it is that we feel now would be more likely to bring us greater meaning and greater purpose in our life. What do we want more of? And if we're moving in the direction of greater love, less ego, less competition, less selfishness, if we're moving in the way of greater compassion and love and creativity, then that gets the thumbs up. Absolutely. That's going to bring you, it's going to fill that gaping hole that we're all walking around with at the moment, because the day-to-day life, the lower vibration of Venus, which is the short term, it's like, I'll go on a shopping trip and buy something, it'll give me a short-term lift, or I'll eat some comfort food, or I'll have a nice time with friends or a lover. That'll give me a boost, but it's quite temporary. With the outer planets, it's a lot more longer lasting. It's a lot more tangible, it's bigger and more enduring. So this is for the longer term. So Tuesday, really, really wonderful energy. Now, this energy, it's a wonderful expression. The playwright, Oscar Wilde, has this exact same trine, Scorpio, Neptune, 0 degrees exact in his chart. And wonderful, wonderful quotations, of course, and Mercury thing, communication, understanding, the use of words, fantastic quotes. And one of the best quotes for this from Oscar Wilde, very famous, to live is the rarest thing in the world. Most people just exist. And I think that's really the catchphrase that sums up this energy of this week. Are you just existing, or do you want to really, really live? Okay. And if so, what's the change that needs to happen in your life in order to facilitate that? Okay. Are you done with just going through the pointless, mundane motions of life that's really directionless, that's really kind of about just achieving the short-term goals that really don't give any lasting sense of growth? What are you here for, essentially, is what it's saying. What am I here for? And with these outer planets, we're dealing with our soul. We're dealing with the immortal parts of ourselves that will continue on beyond this lifetime. Whatever your personal feelings are about that, for me, I do firmly believe in reincarnation of the soul, that we have many lifetimes, and that there's a common thread that pulls through all of those lifetimes as our soul is having different experiences each time in order to grow, in order to come back to its divinity, its whole completeness. And so what part are you doing of that work in this lifetime? Are you just here to have a good time and die? To buy stuff, have a nice house, go on some holidays and play golf and then go? Is that really the miracle of life and all of the potential that you have as a human being? Is that all you're going to use it for? Is that all we're all going to use it for? You think of all the collective potential that we have when we tap into our higher selves and operate more from our soul, and where we're moving as a collective, wow, we could achieve so much more. And it is idealism, I get that. It is, you know, this is John Lennon's Imagine. You think of the words, the specific song lyrics there, Mercury lyrics. And it is, if we live as one, you know, it is that rose-tinted view of things. And yes, we do have to get practical, but Mercury is going to help that become practical. It's saying, you know, okay, how does that look? How do we make that a practical reality in our lives? How can we just take some steps towards having greater Neptune influence in our lives? So Tuesday is a fantastic day for tapping into that energy. So it's going to give us a bit of clarity because Mercury is out of shadow. Mercury likes getting to the detail, to the nub of an issue. So yeah, Mercury is going to be giving us some clarity in that sort of storm, that turmoil of the washing machine of the wave that we're being tumbled around in. Clarity from the confusion, making sense from the madness. Neptune really can seem like insanity. It's altered states of consciousness when we have Neptune energy. It's how we feel drunk, how we feel high, how we feel, you know, when we're in prayer or meditation or ceremony that takes us into a different psychedelic world. That's Neptune energy, you know, it's really altering our perception. And it can feel, you know, when we don't have a sense of understanding that that's taking place, that can be quite confusing and quite scary in a way, because it does seem like, oh my God, madness, like my world has just gone mad. But when we understand what's taking place and we can see the purpose behind it, then we can calm down and go, okay, it's just dissolving things. It's just blurring things. And from that blurring, we can start to see something new coming through, coming into focus. But the old picture has to dissolve away first, essentially. So on Tuesday, we could see an increase in imagination and creativity. We're also this is psychic energy. So you're going to be more perceptive and intuitive in communication with other people. So you're going to be able to really tap into your sixth sense and getting a good vibe about people, or just having your intuition heightened, essentially. And it's going to increase a more kind, compassionate, loving, and imaginative way of communicating. So if you are a speaker, if you are a singer, if you are a writer, you know, if you've got to have a conversation with someone that you love, these kinds of things, this is the perfect time to do it, because our communication is going to take on this Neptunian influence on that day. So these are deep energies. Scorpio really is the deep. It's getting behind things, going into the unseen. So this really is, you know, there's that, I can't remember the name of it, that trench that goes across the Atlantic Ocean. I want to say marinara, but that's seafood. Well, yeah, Neptune. Something trench, anyway, the Maria something trench. That's this deep, deep, deep. It's where the ocean floor goes down miles and miles and miles. And there's these most incredible, imaginative creatures that live down there in the darks that just seem like something out of sci-fi. You know, that imagination really comes to life in the depths and the dark. So this is tapping us into that part of ourselves that doesn't get the light cast on it very often. So it reveals these most beautiful secrets and treasures that we don't often get to see. But when we go into the deep, especially if we're not doing it kind of willingly or consciously, we can have disillusionments, yes, we can have disappointments, deception, But just think of it as it's a disintegration. The waves of Neptune just want to disintegrate an old structure. Think about how the waves lap at the rocks on the beach. They soften things. They take those sharp, jagged edges and smooth them off. I love collecting sea glass on the beach. That's, you know, what I'm drawn to most above shells and things. And it takes this sharp, cutting edge, and it softens it into something really beautiful and muted. And that's essentially, you know, just the effect of the waves plus time, essentially having that effect. And that's what Neptune can do in our lives. It can take something that's a bit blunt and sharp and, you know, it doesn't really bring much beauty, and it can add that, but it's a tumbling process that we have to go through. So we're finding which way is up, and we're engaging in the process. We're getting a bit more understanding about the Neptunian process that's going on, a little bit more clarity about really what does bring us some purpose and meaning in our life and where we want to be heading. So it's this sea change that says, you know, Sun's in Sagittarius, heading for the next horizon. I've gone through the washing machine. I'm starting to move forward now. And Mars also, you know, is now starting to pick up some forward momentum too. Mars has been stationed around the 15th degree of Aries for over a week now, and it's starting to move off and make some progress as well. So there's a lot of forward kinds of energy. When the moon moves into Aries again, that's going to pull us into that, yeah, okay, let's make something happen. Let's make this dream come into reality and move forwards with it. So yeah, that Tuesday really is summed up by that Oscar Wilde quote, to live is the rarest thing in the world. Most people just exist. So if you've been disillusioned with your life thus far, and it does just feel like an existence, now is time to dream up something better that's going to give you greater fulfillment and meaning and purpose about your soul. Wednesday evening then, as the moon moves through Aries, she's going to connect up with Mars. So that, with Mars now starting to build up some momentum and move forward, that is going to make us feel a little bit like, yeah, I want to do something. I want to make something happen. We've got, you know, every time now we've got the sun in a fire sign, every time the moon is also in a fire sign, be it Aries or over here in Leo, we'll have a trine to the sun. So that's really harmonious energy. This is very creative and energy that helps us to manifest things. And so in fire signs, this is about, yeah, I want some passion. I want some excitement, you know, I want to feel alive. It's that kind of energy. So we'll get a bit more of a dose of that in Wednesday. And then as we move through the latter stages of Wednesday and into and through Thursday as well, what we're going to have is this square from the moon to each of these planets that are moving through Capricorn. So Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn. They're all direct now, as you may know. So this square is going to provoke, okay, you want to move forward. That's going to involve some really profound transformation. It's going to involve, you know, letting something go, letting something die so that something new can take its place. With Jupiter, it's going to ask of us to bring about a more positive aspect of Jupiter. So it may expose to us where we use our Jupiter in less desirable ways. So that can be greed, you know, Jupiter is expansion and it wants more of it. It wants bigger and better and more all the time. So obviously the downside of that then is greed and excess. So where is it that perhaps we've got a little bit too greedy, or we've our expectations of life has just been a little bit too kind of privileged, you know. We're in that top part of the world here in the West. We are incredibly privileged. And where do we, you know, where are we a little bit big-headed? Where are we coming from our privilege, be it gender or race or wealth, all of these kinds of things? Where have we got a bit too big for our boots and perhaps we need to slap back down to earth? Or where is it just unwise? Where is it that we've learned that more isn't always good? Because all that glitters is not gold. And it does leave us still with this void. You know, you could become a billionaire and still feel really unhappy. And then as the moon squares Saturn, this is where we can have that dose of feelings of feeling isolated, feeling cut off, feeling lack and loss and restriction, particularly to comfort. Where am I not feeling a sense of being held by life right now, being nurtured? Where's there a lack of warmth? Where is my life really not nourishing me? You know, the moon relates to the breast. It relates to mothering energy. So it's that nursing. When a baby is held in the arm to the mother's breast, it's such a deep bond. We feel completely nurtured in all ways, nurtured and nourished. And so we want, where the moon's going in our chart is where we want that feeling of safety and nourishment. So when we have this hard aspect to Saturn, that can show up as, I'm really not feeling at all nourished or fulfilled by life. I don't feel safe. I don't feel warm. And it can often be around, you know, isolation. Saturn, you know, is quite a solitary energy. It's kind of like a one-man show. So it can tap us into some of those feelings. But really what it's trying to do here is it's trying to say, what's your duty? What's your responsibility? Have you been taking care of that? How are you going to make this dream come into reality if you're not owning your stuff? You know, you have to own and take responsibility for where you've been disappointed, where you've been deceived, where you've been disillusioned, where you've been confused and things just haven't turned out the way that you expected them to turn out. You know, don't fall into the victim mentality, as you can really easily do with Neptune, and just kind of want to give up and feel sorry for yourself and just, you know, get drunk. You know, this is saying, okay, Saturn's saying, we have to take responsibility and say, okay, you know, what was my part in that? And then how can I own that and make sure it doesn't happen again? So we have to do our work. Saturn's saying, it's time to do some work on you. And Saturn's finishing up this journey through Capricorn now. We've only got essentially 1 month left of Saturn in Capricorn. This really has been a deep journey with our own personal integrity, our personal sense of duty and responsibility, and how that shows up in the system, the structure of our lives, both as individuals and as part of the collective. So yeah, the last moments of doing our work with Saturn. So as we move then into Friday, Moon's a little bit more stable now in Taurus, where she's quite happy in Taurus. The key aspects that we've got going on now is, as Mercury has moved a little bit further forward, still in Scorpio, so still offering us absolute bucket loads of deep insight, deep getting behind the secrets and the unseen. Mercury is now going to start this aspect of a sextile. And you'll have heard me talking about the sextile aspect in the past. The sextile aspect is all about asking us just to put a little bit of intention or effort to connect these planets together. So it's half of a trine. You chop a trine in half, you get 2 sextiles, all right? And so where the trine, we don't really need to try with the trine. It all just kind of falls onto our lap. With the sextile, we do need to make a little bit more effort though. So with the sextile, we need to meet it halfway, but it's still really helpful. It's still really positive. So what we have here with Mercury in Scorpio, which is ruled by Pluto, there's a huge amount of receptivity, what we call receptivity in astrology. That means that the Mercury over here can just tune into that Pluto energy that bit more. And so what we can use this for is strategy, is getting together a really good plan, a really good kind of plot, essentially. I mean, it is, you know, Pluto energy can be quite scheming, it can manipulate, it can be quite plotting. But we can use that energy, obviously, in a positive way as well. So it's okay, all right, how are we going to bring about this transformation? How am I going to create a plan around how I move forward and move into a life of greater wisdom, meaning, and purpose? And greater benefit for my soul, you know, it's really zooming out with these energies and looking at the bigger picture of this particular lifetime we're in is just a blip on the landscape of our souls, really. You know, but we get so caught up in the little detail that we forget the bigger picture. And Neptune's really trying to tune us into that. And this energy will help us kind of refine the strategy around that. So it's penetrating mind. Okay, this is if you really want to do some deep work around understanding something that's quite complex. This is a great day for that. Powerful intellect, all right, and powerful influence when you're talking to someone. So if you want to give a speech this week, if you want to really have a powerful impact on an audience, Thursday and into Friday particularly is a really, really good day for that. Or if you just want to have, you know, a sense of leaving a powerful impression upon somebody through your words, and that could also be in writing as well, then this is the day to capture. So it facilitates deep thinking, it facilitates finding missing information or piecing things together, or, you know, having those penny drop moments where you find the last piece of the puzzle and everything just falls into place. It's wonderful. And uncovering secrets. So we might see some of that going on. You might see it in your own life. We might see it, you know, in the global scene, uncovering secrets. Again, interestingly, in the natal chart, this aspect is in the natal chart of Vladimir Putin. You know, he's said to leave this very powerful impression on people, and he's got this very kind of powerful intellect, very kind of, yeah, really good at sort of creating strategy, let's say, you know, and being quite convincing as well. Clear insight into our plan or plotting how we can move forward, Sun and Sagittarius, with greater insight, or at least being able to ask the right questions. So perhaps if you're still in the Neptunian confusion and that discombobulation, if you're still finding yourself in that, oh my God, I know the old is disappearing and dissolving, but I don't quite know where it is I need to be going, then this is the energy that can at least ask you to, or allow you to ask the right questions, to read the right books, to be drawn towards the right people and the right information that will facilitate the transformative process that you're going through. So really try and engage with that on Friday if you can. Over the weekend, then, this is when the Neptune energy gets its most strongest, because we have Neptune stationing direct. Another planet on our board, we're losing a bit more red. Red is stop. You know, the more planets we have in gold here, the more we have a more direct motion, forward momentum. And so over the weekend, we can really get a sense of this. The moon will be creating a nice sextile aspect, that helpful energy again to Neptune. And we're really, really building into the energy of the eclipse that's going to take place on Monday, which will happen when the moon moves into Gemini. So over the weekend, powerful manifesting energy. We've got the moon in an earth sign. So earth is bringing things into solid formation. And when we add that with water, it's like making clay. All right, it's the potter's wheel. We're taking solid earth and water, and we're blending them together, and it's pliable, and we can shape something, we can bring something into being, we can manifest as we move into the eclipse. So really try and tap into that Neptune energy and make a decision. You decide, what's my dream? You know, what's my dream, and how am I now going to bring that into reality? Let's have a look then. What do we have? Yes, the other important factor here is that Mercury is the ruler of Gemini. So as this is a Gemini eclipse that we will have, it's the Gemini full moon on Monday. So it's a Gemini eclipse. That makes Mercury the ruler of this eclipse. So all of this work that we're doing throughout the week with Mercury is, you know, facilitating what that fated nudge might kind of bring for us. If you think back 6 months ago to the Gemini new moon, what was happening in your life 6 months ago? What were the intentions that you had for your life? What did you want to see come into being? You're going to get your feedback session with the universe now. This is your one-to-one session with the boss. And that's going to say, okay, well, here is how far you've come along that journey. So lots and lots of powerful insight, but Mercury, a big, big factor in that. The sextile aspect that's going to be most profound then as we come through the weekend and into the eclipse is the sextile from Jupiter to Mercury. Now this is wonderful energy, because what we have the ruler of the moon that we will have at the eclipse on Monday, Gemini. Mercury is the ruler of Gemini. And then we have Jupiter, who's the ruler of the sun. All right, so the eclipse is essentially an opposition. All right, always a full moon is an opposition between the moon and the sun. So we have this opposition that we're building into, but at the same time, we have more receptivity, because we have Mercury in harmonious aspect with Jupiter, the ruler of the sun and the ruler of the moon. So we're really working with these archetypes quite profoundly. What are they? They are wisdom and growth and knowledge. Okay, Jupiter is known as the truth seeker. It wants to go out there into the world and find what it is that's going to expand my philosophy on life. You know, the bigger aspects of what it is I believe in. And Mercury wants to collect information, essentially. It wants to take information from that place. And so say that's a book. A book is the perfect example, or this notepad. Mercury is operating here by, I've written words onto the page. I'm then going to read them. And so the information is moved from where I took it from into my brain. It's now coming out of my mouth, and it's moving into your ears and into your brain. And then you will do with it what you want. It's a movement of information. So that movement of information is facilitating the bigger philosophical realm of what it is that's wise, what it is that's going to move you into greater truth. What's your truth? What are you all about? Are you just this person that, you know, pays your bills and makes coffees for people all day? You know, is that really what you're going to use the miracle of a human being for in this lifetime? Because Jupiter brings us opportunity. It brings us the opportunity to step into our greatness and step into a role where we can bring wisdom to other people through the wisdom that we have ourselves. So Jupiter kind of represents the teacher, a mentor, a guru, all those kinds of things. Religious leaders, politicians, all of these people that kind of impart belief, philosophy, ideology, all of these things onto us. So we're really being tapped into that, and that's really important in terms of, you know, the work that we've been doing in the Pisces realm throughout the week, and as Neptune stations at this time over the weekends. You know, what's it all about? What's it all about for me? What's my future? How do I step into that? And Jupiter really does open up opportunities. I will be personally capturing this wonderful energy to hopefully impart some of my knowledge onto you. At the moment, I'm not allowed to run my my normal astrology circle in person. So I'm doing some online events. If you'd like to take part, you can go into my website, Jupiter Returns, or find me on Facebook and follow the link there. I'm running an event on Saturday that's going to really help us with this energy, tap us into this energy. If you're interested in learning more about astrology or gaining greater wisdom, then I'd strongly recommend this session. It's very relaxed and informal, as they always are with me, but I'm going to be giving you a ton of information. That information is going to be about the planets Jupiter and Saturn. They are going to be starting a whole new cycle together. You may have heard it talked about called the Grand Conjunction. So this is taking place at the winter solstice this year, 21st of December, so around about a month's time. It's a pretty big deal. It's a big deal. So I'm going to be talking to you about what that means, but also, as always, I am going to be empowering you by imparting some of my knowledge of astrology as well. So you'll be learning loads about Saturn individually. You'll be learning loads about Jupiter individually. We'll be looking back at the cycle that's now drawing to a close, and where it's going to be starting again at that winter solstice. So really, really exciting event. It's only £12. You'll get the whole session is fully recorded, so you can download it and play it back to you. So jump in on that if that speaks to you, and if not, it's just a great weekend for learning of any kind. Reading, do some reading, listen to some podcasts, watch some YouTube videos, anything really that can facilitate some greater wisdom and allowing you to understand truth of who you are and the reason for your life, essentially. I hope that's been helpful as always. If it has, please do support my work. I show up here every week and put this out to help people without any charge. I do that because I deeply believe passionately that astrology is something that should be widely understood. I think that we'd all be a lot better for it if we did understand it. And as such, I want to empower you by teaching you a little bit about astrology, and that's what I aim to do, as well as just kind of giving you the interpretations. I hope you will learn something as well. If you do, please support my work by subscribing to my channel. Make sure you're linked in with me on my Facebook page, because I do a lot of writing there and lots of other things too. And you'll find me on Instagram as well, if that's your cup of tea. And yeah, have a very, very beautiful, blessed, dreamy week alongside Neptune. Thank you so much. Lots of love. Bye-bye.